Alright everyone, what I have here is the assembly, hopefully, of my first challenge lock. So let's take a look at the parts. We have... Okay, so the driver's on top here, if it'll focus. The two serrated pins I cut myself from old key pins. The three spools are just commercial spools I rescued from a cheap Kwikset. The key pins... Number 1 is standard because it was just too small for me to really do anything to. Cut a really deep spool on number 2 with a very sharp lip, and I'll show you why in a second. 3 and 5 are key pins, and number 4 is serrated, and I did that myself with my Dremel and some needle files. If you take a look at the springs, I've got 3 different kinds of springs here just to give some varied feedback. And I'm just going to put this here. I'll show you. These are all threaded and drilled for the little grub screws, and 3 of the chambers are threaded as well underneath and undercut in the other 2. In the plug we have this in number 2, a nice groove there. It's also undercut on the inside, giving you a couple of chances to catch that sharp lip on pin number 2. In 1, 3, and 4 I have threaded the chambers, and in number 5 I've also undercut that. This is the key. I just made up a crazy bitting code, and I had my local locksmith cut this for me. It's just a Schlage SC1. And I'm going to put this together the easy way by... No, I'm not going to do it the easy way. I'm going to do it the hard way. Just to prove that I did this. Pop these key pins in. It's actually harder to drop pin number 2 down through all that stuff, come to think of it, than it is to just pop it into the plug and go from there. So I'm going to stick that in there the other way. And get this little spring, the tiniest little spring from the retaining pin in the tailpiece, and of course it fell under my tweezers. See how small that thing is? And it just goes right in that little hole. Pin goes on top of it. And then this little ring screws down. And I don't have one of those fancy Schlage tailpiece tools, so I just kind of depress the pin with my Allen wrench here. And spin the outer ring around it if it will cooperate. Which of course it's not. Okay, here we go. We want to tighten it almost all the way down, but not so tight that it slows the rotation of the plug. So a little less than that. So turn it back just a couple notches. Perfect. Okay. Now we just go ahead and drop the drivers in. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Load up our springs. Sorry, this is a little blurry. The autofocus on my camera is not always really a team player. So we'll just pop those screws in there. And then I do kind of, let me just zoom that in. Zoom that in a little bit while I put these little grub screws in, so you can see that. And they stick on the Allen wrench pretty nicely, so I can use it to depress that spring a little bit. Oh, which one fell out? Alright, it was 5 and it was just the driver and the spring. No big deal. Okay. I don't know what size Allen wrench this is, because it came in a set and the set was not labeled, so I apologize for that. But if you've got an Allen wrench set, I'm sure you've got one that'll fit. You can always gut it the hard way. There's that one. And this is really the ugliest part of this whole build, is that I didn't have any way to control the depth of my drill. So these little screws don't all go to the same depth, and a couple of them stick out, and it's not pretty, but it works. Okay, and there you have it. There's the key. Works perfectly. All the pins are back in place. And that is it. That's my first challenge lock.